It's been one of those mornings.
I can't.
It's
I
always.
cannot today.
You know what? Ashley and I were just saying it's always something.
Every day, something happens.
I don't think we're just not in a point in our lives right now where it's not something.
I also think like we're so close and we're going to get there soon where this will be our only job.
Right? Listen, and I know, guys, I know I bitch all the time about this, but like if you could see what goes into just separating all my animals so I can record.
Yeah. I
It's
don't have
next
that
level.
problem, but my problem is just like I live in a teeny tiny little place. So I have to be very like tactful of like how the setup is. Like the fact that I have a studio in this condo is like,
So
now,
nice.
should I have a studio? Probably not, because this could be used for so many more things, but no.
You know what? We're making it work.
Yeah.
I record at my dining room table.
Yeah.
And you're just seeing, like, I imagine people who watch us on YouTube, they're like, oh, how nice. Like, they have like these dedicated spots. No. My kids come home, my ring lights up, wires are everywhere all the time.
So you can't really see, but like I'm going to touch the walls of my studio.
Do it.
I'm in a closet that is now a studio.
You really are. You really are in a closet. But here we are.
Here we are.
And we love it. And
I love my studio space.
I know. This is like
and we bitched for like what, for 6 months we recorded in like our actual clothes closets.
I got to pull up some pictures of that because you guys don't fully understand.
It was so funny. And you know what? Like, I'll always like cherish those days because we didn't realize at the time. We were just like, let's have some day drinks and do this for funsies. And then we were like, this is like something that we really love to do. And then people were like, do more. And we're like, okay.
I'm gonna dig them up because I feel like especially our newer listeners are really gonna appreciate. There was a time where I was like shoved into Matt's work clothes in a closet. There was a time where I was in a different closet in the house and I had a blanket over my head where Ash could barely see me so that we maintained good sound.
What episode was it? I had all my family visiting and we were like,
oh my God.
Chanteller and I, like, if you've been listening, we don't like not release an episode. We will go to the craziest lengths. And I had to, and the sound is so bad because you can actually hear me crawling into my shower.
It's crazy. It's
like,
crazy.
But we will always get these episodes. Now,
yeah,
quality sometimes might be fucking crazy because we're really trying here.
We're doing our best. All right. So that all being said, we've already come a long way thanks to all of you. If you aren't currently following us on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, I think we have an X, YouTube, please give us a follow. Hit that share it with somebody who's just as weird and creepy as you.
And Spotify and Apple or wherever you're streaming.
And Spotify and Apple and all the places that you listen.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it as always. So we're just going to get right into it because I'm very excited about this. Ashley.
Yeah.
I actually can't wait to ask you this.
Okay.
What is your favorite sport to watch?
This is complicated for me.
I know it is. But if you had to choose a sport, where are you at?
It'd have to be hockey.
Okay.
Because, and the only reason is because I know it. I know the rules.
Yeah.
It's fast paced. And like, I spend so much time watching hockey with my son that like, it does get the juices flowing. However, if I was going to watch it for like the sake of watching it, it'd be football. I have no idea what the fuck is going on, but those men, those big, burly, fucking sweaty men in those little pants, like,
yeah, you like that
all day.
Like, please.
So it depends on what Ashley is feeling.
It depends on what Ashley we have today.
Yes.
So for me, it was always hockey. I grew up in a hockey town. I grew up with hockey everywhere. Everywhere there was hockey. And I had a really close group of guy friends who were constantly trying to get me into football. And I used to be like, I don't care about football. I don't want to watch your stupid football. They'd be like, oh, come to my place. You know, we're doing football night. No, I'm not coming.
It's
And
boring.
then, so that was like 35 years of that. And then I met Matt.
God.
And Matt was like, I love football. I used to play football.
And you're like, I love football now too.
I was like, oh my God, me too. I too love football. And it's so funny because, I mean, that's not true. I didn't initially love football, but I was like, if this beautiful man, I could just watch this man watch football and I'll be happy.
Fair.
And then I started watching it with him, and I got to tell you,
I know what you're going to say.
About the football. I love it.
She's in a fucking, what is that?
This is my first year. It's not make-believe. It's fantasy football. Get it right. This is my first year.
Football league.
I have a lineup. I don't even know what that means. Yesterday, the admin for it messaged me and he was like, oh, you're having such a great week. And I was like, am I? I don't know. Can you explain this to me? I don't know what that means. So all this to say, today we are talking about something called CTE. And initially you're going to be like, Chantal, this is not a medical podcast.
Oh, I know what this is. Isn't this what happens when you get too many concussions? You
got it, girlie. You got it. So professional athletes are celebrated for their toughness, their strength, their ability to take a hit and get back up. That's what we admire about all these athletes. We're like, holy shit, like he just got pummeled like he was in a car accident and he got back up. But what happens if those hits don't heal? When the damage builds quietly and invisibly inside the brain until it changes who someone is entirely. Today, we're exploring one of the darkest and most unsettling connections in sports. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. This degenerative brain disease has been found in athletes who endured years of repeated head trauma. And in some cases, it's been linked to terrifying acts of violence. And we're going to dive into 3 of those cases today.
So this is actually, as a mother, because my son plays full contact hockey. This is my actual fear because my daughter has had 2 full-on concussions, and it very much for a little while changed her personality quite significantly. But then you put them in therapy and they can get over it if it's not too bad.
If it's not too bad.
You know, sometimes I have those moments where I'm like, am I being a good mother? Am I setting my child up for some horrific accident? But he loves the sport. So it does. I know. So like, you know, it's camaraderie. It's this, it's that. We do have him in hit clinics. We do have him in full gear. But then you still have those moments where you're like.
And I will say in my research for this episode, headgear has come a very long way since they've started to understand CTE a little bit deeper. It has come a long way, but it's still scary, I'm sure. Still scary.
Give it to me, girl.
All right. So I just want to get into what CTE is, like a very broad overview before we get into the 3 cases I'm covering. And it was interesting the way this case came to be because I had asked Matt, I was like, is there a case that you'd like me to cover? Because Matt listens religiously to our podcast.
At least one of our men does.
Thanks,
I could literally,
Mike, even though you won't hear this.
Mike is not going to hear this because he's like, yeah, I'm like 52 episodes behind. I'm like, yeah, fuck off.
I will say Mike is our biggest fan on social media. He's always the first one to like everything.
He's so, and guys, like, please don't think that I'm complaining about my husband. He works.
I know, they work so hard.
No, 14. Yeah. And Matt has a commute where he can drive and listen. Mike doesn't have that.
Mike doesn't. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So first we'll get into, so he had said, actually, yeah, there is a case. Can you cover Chris Benoit? So originally this case was only going to be about Chris. And then I always end up in a hole. And then I ended up going down this hole. And so today's case is actually going to be about 3 men: Chris Benoit, Philip Adams, and Aaron Hernandez. All right.
All football players?
No.
Okay.
So chronic traumatic encephalopathy is caused by repeated head trauma. So not one concussion, not even necessarily 2, but years of blows that shake the brain inside the skull. So we're thinking about boxers, football players, pro wrestlers, these guys who are taking hit after hit after hit. And while we can see the bruises and the bumps and the scrapes on the outside of their body, and then that heals, the brain doesn't heal like that. Every hit to the brain causes a lasting scar. And you got to think of your brain like the, the center of everything.
Yeah.
Your brain controls your mood, your personality, your everything, all your decision-making skills. So when we have scar after scar after scar on our brains, it's bound to leave issues. So some of the symptoms of CTE include memory loss, depression, paranoia, aggression, impaired judgment, and violent outbursts. And for decades, athletes were told to just walk it off, right? Because you're not tough. If you go down and you don't get back up, like, oh, well, whatever. But these injuries rattled their brains. Yeah. Brain injuries are severe. All right, so we're going to get into case number 1, which is Chris Benoit. On June 2007, a WWE manager called the police in Georgia to request a welfare check on Chris. He was known as the Canadian Crippler.
Okay, but before you get into this?
Yeah.
I thought, and I've been to a couple WWE matches myself in person.
Okay.
Because my son went through a stage. Fucking ridiculous. I always thought those weren't real. Like real hits. I thought it was all like...
No, it's
because it's like a play. No,
I'm gonna go with no after what I've read about Chris, and I'll be honest, I don't know that much about the wrestling world.
Okay. Now I'm curious. Continue. Sorry for the interruption.
No, it's all good. So Chris had failed to show up for a pay-per-view event, and no one could get a hold of him. And this was very unusual. Chris was born May 21st, 1967 in Montreal, Quebec. His family moved to Edmonton, and that's where he was raised. Growing up, Chris adored wrestling. Some of his favorites were Bret the Hitman Hart and the Dynamite Kid. From a young age, he was relentless. He trained, actually, at the famous Hart family dungeon in Calgary, which I was like, cool. All right. Yeah. And this was known for being one of the most brutal training grounds in the world. Stu Hart, the patriarch of the Hart family, was notorious for stretching young wrestlers into submission, teaching them not just wrestling moves, but discipline and pain tolerance. So again, we're already seeing this attitude of like, get up, you're fine. Yeah. Pain is fake, It's
a very mental sport, any type of MMA fight, anything like that. Because you have to literally block out the sensors in your brain that are telling you to run.
Yeah.
It's a very crazy thing.
Right? Like this is not good. This is not normal. So Chris thrived in this environment. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't a big talker, but he was driven. He was laser focused, and he was absolutely obsessed with becoming the best wrestler. In the 80s and 90s, Chris was making his wrestling mark across the world. And in the early 2000s, when he joined WWE, the fans loved him not because of promos or charisma, but because every time he stepped into the ring, he looked like he was fighting for his life, which of course is entertaining. Yeah.
Yes. Because really, if you don't stay at the very top all the time, that's right,
you're done.
You're done.
Yeah. And I talk about that a little bit later too. Chris had married Martina and had 2 kids with her, but they later divorced and he ended up marrying Nancy. Now, Nancy and Chris did have a tumultuous relationship. There were many calls to the police for domestic violence and abuse, but they were trying to work through it for the sake of their 7-year-old son, Daniel. Okay. So they had a son and they were like, and from some of the reports that I read, Daniel did have some cognitive delays. Okay. So they just knew divorcing would probably really affect him and
Absolutely.
traumatize him. Okay, so back to the police have received this welfare check call. They show up to do the check and discover a horrifying scene. Chris's wife, Nancy, had been strangled to death in their bed, and a Bible was laid next to her. Chris had murdered her on June 22nd. Now, the dates are important here. He had killed her and then carried on the next day with his son. So Nancy is dead upstairs in bed, and he is woken up the next day, got his kid up, done the things. I don't know what he told him, but carried on. However, Daniel was discovered in his bed, murdered in the same way, Bible laying next to him, and autopsies showed that Daniel had most likely not been killed until June 23rd, the
So
day
what,
after his mother.
He kills the mom, spends one last day with his child.
Isn't that like
That's
my heart
disgusting.
broke while mom is dead upstairs? And I mean, he was 7, so I can only hope and pray to God that Chris was just like,
She's not
oh,
feeling
mom's
well.
just out. Mom's
Yeah.
not feeling good. She's in bed, you know?
But like, that's premeditated.
Yeah. They did find sedatives similar to Benadryl in Daniel's system, so I can only hope he was out when his father strangled him to death.
Fucking crazy.
Chris was found in his home gym where, by all accounts, it looked like he hung himself, but the coroner said he most likely did not die until June 20th.
So he spent 3 days. Probably the Bible thing is really throwing me off. I think maybe that's like a remorse or like, and then maybe he realized, okay, my son has delays. Mom is gone. He's not going to be able to handle the loss of mom, gets rid of mom. And then he's like, what the fuck am I going to do? And then, because that's the only.
And the truth is, we can't even really put ourselves in his shoes because, as you're going to see, he's had severe CTE. So he wasn't himself. He wasn't there. Initially, the WWE aired a 3-hour tribute show to Chris, but pulled it as quickly as they could once details emerged that like he had done this. Because initially it was just like Chris Benoit and his wife and child are dead or found dead, right? But the minute that it came out that he did this,
They're like, pull that fucking shit
they
now.
literally wiped his name from their history. His name was scrubbed from websites, merchandise, and highlight reels. They were like, he didn't exist. Who? Chris who? I don't know who you're talking about.
It's wild.
And he was huge, guys. Like, I need you to understand, he was like the face, like he was like Travis Kelce of the WWE.
It's crazy.
And all of a sudden he's just gone. Like he's just doesn't exist. Nuts. So after Benoit's death, his brain was examined by doctors and the results shook the medical community as well as the sports community. His brain was said to resemble that of an 85-year-old man with severe dementia. Yeah. Years of concussions, chair shots to the head, and high-risk wrestling moves had taken their toll.
So, like, he had no wherewithal.
They don't think so.
No.
They don't think so.
So
Doctors concluded
he was going through, probably press conferences, being told what to say, but really, he's just going through the motions, probably so fucking out of touch with reality.
It sounds like my heart broke because my ex-father-in-law had dementia before he died. And I just can't even imagine. And we knew he had dementia. So we were able to care for him in a way that supported his dementia diagnosis. I can't imagine being a young man and having to go around with that cognitive dysfunction, but pretend like everything was okay.
It's crazy. It is heartbreaking.
Crazy.
I mean, what he did is fucking awful.
It's
awful and it's inexcusable. And I'm not saying that, but when you end up in a situation where you don't have your wherewithals, you don't know what the fuck is going on, because an 85-year-old brain with dementia, an 85-year-old brain without dementia is still going to show wear and tear.
Yes.
A 50-year-old brain with dementia, you know, so you really do have to look at, like, and I'm not excusing it by any means. No. Please don't get me wrong.
No,
but like,
exactly.
There would have been signs.
Yeah. Now, Benoit, they also wanted to know Benoit did have large amounts of steroids in his system, which wouldn't have helped. That would not have helped in any way, shape, or form. So they, this was a guy who was expected to look superhuman, to just like wrestle through injuries. And so even though he probably at the very beginning of this knew something was wrong, because remember all those symptoms we named at the beginning of the episode, he knew something was wrong, but he was taught to just plow through. You just got to work through it. So that is the story of Chris. All right, now on to case number 2, Philip Adams. Philip was born in 1988 in Rock Hill, South Carolina, a small city known for producing an outsized number of football stars. So that was their thing. People who knew him growing up described him as polite, quiet, and dedicated to the game. He attended Rock Hill High School, excelling as a multi-sport athlete. He did basketball. He did baseball. He did football. He was the guy. And he headed off to South Carolina State University. At SC State, Adams became a standout defensive back. His skills and work ethic caught the attention of the NFL. And in 2010, he was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in the 7th round. He never became a superstar, but he carved out a 6-year NFL career as a cornerback, playing for teams like the Patriots, Raiders, Seahawks, and Jets. His job, for those who don't know football, was to shadow receivers, take the hits, and give everything on every play.
You know, who the fuck is like, this is the position I want to be in?
So many men.
You're like literally waking up in the morning and you're like, I'm about to get my shit fucked up today and I can't wait.
I'm about to be hit by a 255-pound, 6'6" giant.
That would be me standing there and my husband charging at me. Hell to the no.
It's crazy. His career was plagued by injuries. He broke his ankle as a rookie. He suffered at least 2 documented concussions, but I'm sure there were so many more. And teammates later said he did struggle with lingering painful headaches, frustrations, and he had this constant feeling that he was disposable in a league that churns through players. And it was interesting because in watching interviews with the NFL players who talk about this disposable feeling, I couldn't help but think it kind of sounds like a toxic relationship. Like, when you're in a bad relationship and you like the idea of it, and so you do anything to make it work. That's almost what it sounded like. So they were taking these hits. They were dealing with the stress.
But your career isn't long.
Well, that's just it. But they wanted it to last as long as possible. Mm-hmm. So they would push through all of these, red flags that your body would send. And they would be like, no, I can't. After leaving the NFL, it can be a really difficult transition for players. According to a close family friend, though, Adams seems to be doing really well considering this drastic life change. He was talking about setting up this not-for-profit that would benefit up-and-coming teens in sport at his home school, Rock Hill. And he also dabbled with the idea of a healthy meal option program for families who couldn't afford it.
Oh, he sounds like a sweetheart.
I know. And that's what friends and family were saying. They said they did see a few things that were alarming. He did show his closest friends and family that his mental health was deteriorating and he was having some personal hygiene issues, which we know can alert that you're struggling mentally.
Your mental state isn't where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. But again, they thought it was probably just he's transitioning. Mm-hmm. He'll be fine. He'll get through this. He did not. On April 7th, 2021, Philip hopped on his four-wheeler and took off from the home that he shared with his parents. His father, Alonzo Adams, said he remembered watching him ride off. Adams showed up at the home of neighbor Dr. Robert Leslie, who was a well-known local physician in Rock Hill.
Was it his physician?
No, and he just opened fire. He killed Dr. Leslie, his wife Barbara, their 2 young grandchildren, and 2 repairmen who were working on Leslie's HVAC system at the time.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. Let's stop here. Mm-hmm. So, okay, because this isn't a crime of passion. This isn't like a relationship-based crime. This isn't...
Nope.
Dr. Leslie was not affecting his day-to-day life in any
Nope.
way, shape, or form. So this is a completely different type of crime.
Yep. So they were kind of neighbors. So Philip lived only zero point 0.7 miles from Dr. Leslie. So it was in the same neighborhood. And we have to remember, like, he got there on a four-wheeler. So
Yeah.
it wasn't far, but nevertheless. So they knew them. They knew, Dr. Leslie lives a few doors down.
Were they close family friends?
No, not that I could see in
Yeah.
any
So there
way.
wasn't like,
There wasn't
Dr.
a
Leslie
connection.
was what?
No. Yeah.
This is very, very strange to me
I
now.
know. And just opened fire, just like went nuts. And it
And the
was a
family
total
didn't see
massacre.
signs of him like talking, like having like grandiose delusions of
No,
murder crimes.
they did find these like cryptic writings of his, but it was just random words. And to this day, no one has ever made any sense of it. So I guess at his house, after they found him and arrested him, they found this like journal, and it was all just like cryptic messages, but they didn't make sense.
Okay.
It wasn't like, I'm gonna do this awful thing, because it was just like random words, like
That
purple
is almost
candle fuzzy.
That's almost scarier because you have to
Mhm.
think, so this person is like obviously thinks they're documenting something worth writing
I
down.
know, but it
Where
wasn't
is
coming out like that.
he? That's
Crazy.
fucking scary.
Yeah. And police arrived at the scene. They found Philip's cell phone. That's how they knew who it was. He dropped his cell phone and left it there.
Okay.
When they arrived, Philip Adams had already killed himself.
Did he leave a
So,
note?
nope. So he drove back to his parents' place after killing all these people
Yeah.
and killed himself. And that was
Did
it.
they perform an autopsy?
They did.
And
When his brain was examined, the findings were grim. Adams had severe stage 2 CTE with profound damage to his frontal lobe. And your frontal lobe is where your willpower is, where your decision making is. That's the center. And it had severe damage. They said that the symptoms would have included paranoia, poor impulse control, and erratic behavior.
I wonder if, because I know
Mhm.
just from things that I've read and learned about over the years, dramatic brain injuries can actually create schizophrenia within your brain.
Yeah,
And I
and
wonder,
maybe.
because when someone is in one of those like types of like, fucking chaotic mental be,
Mhm.
like, are they hearing voices? Are they so delusional? Like, I would love to have known what his final moments were, because
Yeah,
what made him wake up that day and be like, I have to kill them all?
totally random, and his dad saw him
And
just
he
before he went.
didn't attack his family.
He was fine.
It's very
His dad was
interesting.
like, "You don't understand." He was fine. But see, and this is what was so interesting when I was doing all the research for this, because where you and I have both had situations in our life where we're on the wrong medication or we're
Mhm.
having an allergic reaction to something. And immediately, as soon as we know that something is wrong, we're telling someone.
Yes, I don't
But
feel right.
these men were conditioned to keep that shit to themselves.
Fair.
They were conditioned that you're not feeling 100%. I don't care.
But
You have to
also
push through.
with, brain injury, like if you're that fucking gone, would you even know to reach
I
out
don't
and
think
be
so.
like, I don't feel right? Maybe they thought they were just
And to be fair, Philip he was constantly in his final year with the NFL, he was constantly telling the men that he played football with, "Oh my God, I have this awful headache. I
mm,
constantly have these headaches, blah, blah, blah." Like, so there were signs, we just weren't looking for them.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, you powered through. You
Yeah.
took some Advil and you got on the field and you did your job.
Hmm.
So very sad.
That's
Very
actually
sad.
really sad.
Yeah,
My heart goes out to that family because they
I
did
know, me
had
too.
no idea what
To
was
all the
coming.
families, like,
Yeah,
I
100%.
can't even imagine.
It's crazy.
All right. Final case number 3, Aaron Hernandez. And I think out of all the cases, this one probably got the most publicity because Aaron was very popular. He was
Everyone knows Aaron
born,
Hernandez.
yeah, he was born in 1989 in Bristol, Connecticut. He grew up in a close-knit but volatile household. His father, Dennis, was this larger-than-life figure in Aaron's life. He was demanding, strict, and often violent. When Dennis died suddenly from complications after a surgery in 2006, Aaron was just 16 and he was not well and
Okay.
did not take this well. And we see this a lot too. And, this is the same kind of situation as when we don't understand why a woman would stay in an abusive relationship. You
Yeah.
have it's such this like pull
Mm-hmm.
sometimes to your abuser. And this was his dad. And so when
Yeah.
he died, there was so much unfinished business. There was probably so many things that he wanted to tell his dad that he
Mm-hmm.
thought, when I'm a man,
Yeah.
that's when I'll do it. But he never got that chance. He played 3 seasons with the New England Patriots, and he was once considered a rising talent. His career came to a sudden end in 2013 when he was arrested and later convicted for the murder of Odin Lloyd. Hernandez had played college football for the Florida Gators, earning first team All American honors and winning the 2009 BCS National Championship game. So essentially, this guy was like, he was going to be it.
He had everything.
Yes, he was selected 4th round 2010 NFL draft by the Patriots. He was only 20 years old.
Yeah. Like,
He was just so impressive.
I think back to when I was 20. I'm like, what was I doing at 20?
I was not signing multi-million-dollar contracts with the NFL, I'll tell you what.
I'm like watching Jerry Springer hungover on a Saturday. Like, well, let's do that
I
again.
know. I
No.
know.
Good for
I
him.
know. He was this like standout tight end, essentially, that was just incredible. And the NFL was just salivating over the talent that this guy had. But there were once again red flags that were ignored: fights, brushes with the law, and failed drug tests. So they were like, okay, all right. And they just overlooked them because he was so talented. And they were like,
Think
we need him.
about Aaron Hernandez from what I know about,
Mm-hmm.
because he did grow up, with friendships that were maybe seedy characters, but he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see all these people rise with him.
Yeah. But sometimes, and like we see this all the time, and we talk about
Yeah.
this just in our personal lives, sometimes some people have a time in your life and it's a chapter.
Yeah.
And once that chapter closes, it's closed and
You
you
got to
have to
stay
move
away from them.
forward. You can still love them, you can still want them to do well, but you can't let those people pull you down.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And like,
another thing,
you have to post pictures of Aaron Hernandez.
I will.
My God. Had he not been like this amazing athlete, he could have been a fucking Calvin Klein model.
I know. He was beautiful.
Jesus.
Beautiful. And Aaron didn't live like a calm, cool lifestyle. Like he had signed a $40 million contract and he lived it up. He had the mansions, he had the cars, he had the fame, he had touchdowns every Sunday. Like this guy was living it up. But behind the scenes, Hernandez's life was spiraling. As you have already mentioned, he surrounded himself with a dangerous crowd. He
Mm-hmm.
was heavily into partying and he was becoming increasingly paranoid. So his
Yeah.
friends and family were saying like calm down because he would just go off on these
Mm-hmm.
rants. One friend reported like he would like come out of the house screaming butt naked, like just thinking someone was coming up the driveway and there's nobody there.
Yeah. But
And
here's the thing. You can fucking leave a neighborhood, but if you don't fully leave that
yeah,
lifestyle will follow you to wherever. It doesn't matter if you're a fucking millionaire. It doesn't matter if
yeah,
you're living in the hood. If you're around those people, you're around those people.
yeah, exactly. And people kind of just excused it because they were like, it's the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the thing is, the symptoms of CTE and drug use are so similar. So they didn't know, they just thought it was the drugs. In 2013, the body of Odin Lloyd was found in an industrial park less than a mile from Hernandez's house.
Yeah.
Lloyd was dating the sister of Hernandez's fiance at the time. And there
Yes.
was tons of evidence.
It's crazy. Now, imagine that fucking family dinner table.
No, I can't.
It's crazy because how would you even like putting myself in that position being, you know, say the spouse and you're dating my
I know.
husband's brother and all of a sudden, what?
Yep.
It's awful.
It's crazy. And like I was saying, there was so much evidence against Aaron. Like he couldn't have been like, oh, it wasn't me. There was surveillance footage, DNA, witness testimony. Like people saw this because he was not there. Like he was there, but not really, because 2 years later, while appealing the conviction, he was found dead in his prison cell. When doctors studied his brain, they found one of the most severe cases of CTE ever seen in someone his age. He was only 27.
Yeah.
His brain had suffered such extreme damage that, again, very similar to Chris Benoit, they said, like, we only see this damage in the elderly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The parts of his brain responsible for judgment, decision making, and emotional regulation were like basically had holes in it.
It's really interesting too, because not only was he, you know, being hit in the head all the time, so there's the physical damage, but if he was actively using drugs, maybe some steroids, literally you've got just a shit storm of shit that's like swirling around in somebody's brain.
Yeah, talk about gasoline on a fire.
Yeah, it's sad. It is
Yeah, I
sad. It
know.
makes me sad because, you know, he had everything. He got out of a lifestyle that he didn't have to be a part of anymore.
Exactly.
And he just couldn't.
And yeah. And like all of these cases, I know this is a little bit different than what we normally do because normally we're telling these horrible stories and we're like, that piece of shit monster. And while the CTE doesn't excuse what they did, we have to be a little bit more compassionate than what we are with some of our other cases, because there was proof after these men died that they were not okay. They were not all right. And I can't imagine living with that day in and day out.
No, it's actually, it makes you really question, like, we idolize these, you know, amazing athletes, as you should, because they do put a lot of work. However, they're still humans at the end of the day.
I know.
And I think that it takes away, like, I think the fact that that's why we're so shocked, because you're like, you had everything. What do you mean? But their career literally was to their detriment. The thing that made them so glorious was the thing that essentially destroys them.
Yeah. And
it's very
destroys
sad.
people around them.
Yeah.
Like it's awful, awful. So that's today's case. And CTE, it just blew my mind when I was looking into, and even just seeing, because I was looking at photos of like what a normal brain looks like and then what a brain with CTE looks like, and it's just shocking. And the scary thing about CTE, for those who don't know about it can't be diagnosed before you die. So no MRI, no CT scan, none of that can see the damage. It actually has to be post-mortem, where they physically take the brain out and look into it, that they can see CTE.
And then it's too late. Every case is too late.
Yeah.
Regardless if they committed a violent crime or not. They lived in a situation that, you know, and then you wonder, like, this actually, for me anyways, puts a lot of things into perspective, because you can have all the money, all the power, all the things you've ever wanted. But then is it worth it at the end of the day?
It's so interesting that you say that, because you know I'm big into manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really been getting into my manifest shit lately. And part of manifestation is knowing that you already have what you want.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that you say that, because we can sit here and, I don't know what you guys are going through at home, whether it's financial struggles, whether it's struggles in your relationship, parenting, work, whatever it is. And we can sit here and we can look at these stars, we can look at these celebrities and think, oh my God, if I just had their money, if I
Mm-hmm.
just had their life, how much better would it be? But honestly, guys, if you have your health
Mm-hmm.
and, you have a roof over your head and some, ramen noodles in your cupboard, you're rich.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are. You
100%.
are. So that is the very tragic cases of these three men who, yeah, usually at the end of our episodes, we're fired up, we're mad
Mm-hmm.
at this monster that did this horrible thing. But in this case, it's actually just heartbreaking all around, not
Mm-hmm.
only for the families who lost loved ones in horrific ways, but for the families of these men who had to watch them disintegrate into paranoia and not be able to pull them back out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's
This is
today's case.
very like for
I know.
me, because I'm like,
I know. I know. I know.
because it could
And
so
like I
easily be
said,
anybody.
yes. And like I said, Matt had mentioned doing Chris Benoit, and he had actually mentioned, well, there's not actually proof that he did it. And there are these like conspiracy theories
Mm-hmm.
that, did someone come in and did someone whatever. And I did see those, but I did feel the need to include it because the truth is nothing was taken. Nothing, like, I don't understand why someone, unless it was like a rival who just wanted him gone.
No.
But then why are you killing a 7-year-old boy?
And he went back to the house. His wife was in the house,
Yeah,
dead. Like,
exactly.
I
Exactly. Yeah.
understand, but no.
No. So this, yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
I love medical shit. And I was like, with my pen in one hand, my computer was up, my phone was going with a with a podcast on CTE. And so, yeah, just something to think about. Something to
Also,
think about.
it is the beginning of football season.
I know. Well, I know this because
Oh,
I'm in the fantasy
God. I
football.
can't with your
I have a
bullshit.
team, Ash.
I
I have a
know.
lineup that I need to watch out for and matchups every week.
Can't.
So happy football season. Let's but honestly, like, it's so interesting because there's football tonight. So I'm gonna be watching some football. And this researching this case and doing this case made me just like, I'm watching these guys going, you guys okay?
Yeah.
Like,
Y'all okay out
truly,
there?
are you guys all
Mm-hmm.
right? And I do see, it does seem like the sports industry has started to come a little bit more along the way where they are offering their players a lot of mental health resources,
Mm-hmm.
which I appreciate. But let's just be kind to everyone. You don't know what someone's going through, because a lot of people just carry on because
Yep.
they've been told they
Suck it
have
up,
to.
Buttercup.
Yep. Shake it off.
Mm-hmm.
Block it off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you for
hope you
the
enjoyed
story.
it. And
We'll
we
see you
will see
Friday.
you on Friday.
Bye.
Bye.